Good evening and welcome to the March 2nd, 2016 Town Board Legislative Session. I'll officially call the meeting to order, and I would ask that everyone, if they'd please rise for the pledge. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'll ask our clerk to please call the roll.
Cole.
Here.
LaFountain.
Here.
Metzler.
Here.
Moore.
Here.
Quinn.
Here. Thank you. What a great group. Thank you for everyone that is out this evening. We tried to do everything we could to anticipate the large crowd this evening, so we have some overflow seating in the rotunda. We do have a few seats here and there that are still open, and we did have an opportunity to boost our bandwidth a little bit because we knew a lot of people would be here with smart devices, and so we wanted to boost that up a little bit. If things are running a bit slow, please understand that we may be taxing the system a little bit more than normal with that. A lot of folks have signed up to speak, and if by chance you did not sign up to speak, you'll certainly have that opportunity once we've gone through everyone that has signed up. Certainly we want to give everybody an opportunity to voice their concern this evening as it relates to the moratorium, either supporting the moratorium or not supporting the moratorium, and any comments associated with that overall. With that, I'm going to ask our clerk to please read the legal to get started.
To consider adopting proposed local law number 1 of 2016, which would put into effect a moratorium and prohibition within the town of Penfield of public golf course redevelopment on real property located within the town of Penfield.
Thank you. Oops,
The
sorry.
legal notice was published in the Penfield Post on February 11th, 2016, and posted on our website and town clerk bulletin board. Although this is a town-wide effort, we did send out 445 postcards to residents surrounding the area.
Great. Thank you very much. Mr. Horwitz, is this properly advertised before the board?
Yes, it is.
Okay, great. Thank you.
I'd like to move this, Mr. Supervisor.
Okay. So, Mr. Moore, as the original maker of the resolution for this, would welcome any initial comments that you might have before we open it up to the audience to speak.
Thank you. I would just like to note to the audience and to the board, at last week's work session meeting, this issue was discussed, and we felt that the 6-month moratorium was insufficient. It just wasn't enough time to completely do the job that needed to be done. So this board felt that we needed to move from a 6-month moratorium to a 12-month moratorium. This was passed unanimously at last week's town board work session. It is appropriate for us to move forward and act on the 12-month moratorium on these two properties. When we vote on the local law and when it's adopted, we anticipate and expect that it will be on a 12-month moratorium. Thank you. I would also, if I can, Mr. Supervisor, just make a couple comments. First, I'd like to thank everyone for coming here tonight in support of the moratorium on both Shadow Pines and the Shadow Lake properties. I applaud this community's engagement, and it's wonderful to see everybody here in this room. As a resident and town board member, I support the board moving forward with the 12-month moratorium because I truly feel that is the right thing to do. However, there are some residents, some Penfield residents, that think that the town board is wrong in proposing this measure. Some residents have told me that I am overstepping my authority as a town board member. I accept this criticism because I honestly feel that this moratorium is the right thing to do for our Penfield community. I grew up living at 102 Huntington Meadow off Clark Road, and I've seen Shadow Pines transform over the decades. I even remember the ball fields at the corner of Wayland Road and Atlantic Avenue. In a perfect world, I would love to see a buyer come forward and keep the property as a golf course. I think we all would love to see that happen. In the meantime, I want to be perfectly clear. I am in full support of the 12-month moratorium on Shadow Pines and Shadow Lake. I am not, and I repeat, not in support of the advertised 290-home massive residential development for the Shadow Pines property. Thank you.
Board members, other comments
I have just a
before we
few
open it up?
comments, Mr. Supervisor. Thank you. Thank you all again for coming tonight. When word got to the town hall a few weeks ago that the golf course properties had been listed for sale, Supervisor LaFountain reached out to me to break the news and to immediately start a discussion surrounding the concept of a moratorium on development. This all happened before any media coverage, before anything online, and before the news reached our community. It was that important of a discussion, we had it right away. My brief comment is that this is a bold step for the town board to take. This is not this is a risky step for us, but we're doing what's right for the community. It's a bold step on a deliberate journey for all of us. However, I'm convinced, too, that this is the absolute right step for my hometown. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments?
To be clear, I support the moratorium. I think it's very important that we have a moratorium for 12 months, so Citizens Committee can be created, so we can all research and find out different opportunities that can be done on that property. That is that important. It's not any different than a mixed-use comp plan. It's a large parcel that needs to be addressed, and we need to look at all different possibilities rather than just accept it as residential. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Just briefly, I concur with my colleagues' comments. I fully support a 12-month moratorium. As Councilman Moore mentioned, I did not grow up at 102 Huntington, but I grew up at 68 Harwood Circle, which also backs up to the golf course. So the land, the golf course, has always had a special place in my heart growing up in town. So again, we are taking the next legal step in a journey that Councilwoman Metzler mentioned this evening, and I invite everyone to please join us and come up and share your views one way or the other on the moratorium. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll also indicate that for those that did not come tonight, that elected to stay home and either watch this on PCTV, we did have the ability to go online and to vote, those that were in favor or not in favor of a moratorium. And I think as I'm speaking, our PCTV will display a map on the television. But as of 6:40 p.m. tonight, we had 215 residents go online to register their support of a moratorium. We had 8 that went in to say that they were not supportive, and we had 1 that was a neutral. And the map is kind of a pinpoint map of, you can see that it goes all the way out almost to the county line to the east, and almost the Brighton line on the west, and right up to about Plank Road on the north, and then pretty much down to the southern tip. So there's been a good cross-section of individuals that have elected to go in online and to register their vote to support or not support the moratorium. Additionally, for those that may not have seen, also online, there is a form that you can go in and talk about what you might recommend for that area. And as we move through the process and identify a committee, all of those comments will be gathered, they'll be put in an electronic file, and they'll be made available to the committee as they take a look at this bigger issue of what happens for those properties, you know, from a use standpoint, any recommended changes they might make. They'll have access to all that information, and that will be an ongoing, anyone can go in at any time. With that being said, and to make sure I complete the formal legal component of this, I'm going to turn the meeting over for just a brief moment to our town attorney to speak a little bit about what the intent of this local law is, so that we fulfill that component of the legal. And then we will open it up and start allowing all of you that have signed up to speak to come up and register your comments regarding the moratorium. So with that, Mr. Horwitz, please.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. The intent and purpose of a moratorium zoning law is to allow a community to actually put a stop on redevelopment and give a community the appropriate time it needs to make sure that the right regulations are in place in order for Penfield to be the kind of community we all want to see. So there will be no specific regulations coming out of a moratorium. It just gives the community the time to study it out, do the appropriate analysis, and come up with recommendations, and then it will be up to the town board in its legislative function to determine what regulations should be then put in place to implement what has been studied. Thank you.
All right. Wow. That's, short and sweet. I guess can't ask for anything more than that. I will now ask our clerk, and I'm going to ask our clerk to read 3 names at a time so folks can make their way up. We've got a couple of chairs so that you have a place to sit and before your turn is to speak. And so I would start with our clerk to the first 3 names, please.
Okay, and I apologize if I say your name wrong. I'm reading your writing, so please correct me. Please correct me if I do say your name wrong. Michael Vessa, Don Kopek, and Tom Ashby.
Yep, please. Michael?
So I want to thank the town board. Supervisor LaFountain, thank you very much for giving the town this time to study this. I want to remind everybody in the town here that we are the town of planned progress. That means that we really need to take the time to do what's right for everybody in this room. I live on Pennicott Circle. Been here for 20 years. I love the town of Penfield dearly. My kids love it here. We've obviously not been apprised of everything since we've been here. We live near the quarry, and I want to get into that because that's unfortunately But I think that Dolomite and Old Castle have really shown us already that they just want to push things through. They don't care about the residents. It's evident with the quarry. They've done enough damage to people's houses around there. I can't even talk about when my house cracks in my foundation and everything else. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about what else is to come. And I think as an organization, as a town here, we the people really have spoken. We want this to go away. We want to do what's right for everybody here. Like you guys, we care. And, we really want to see, after this moratorium, some action taken that's going to say, hey, look, this is not the right way to go. And my kids go to Scribner schools. I don't want to see expansion there either. I mean, we are a nice small town. This is what makes Penfield great. We don't want to become a Webster. We don't want to become a Henrietta where there's just sprawling houses all over the place. I've already seen the plans for the Atlantic and 5 Mile, and that one exit in, exit out, no matter what the traffic study saw, I read all that, it's going to be a nightmare. And we just don't want to add more nightmares to what already is coming. So with that, I appreciate your time, and thank you very much.
I'm Tom Ashby. I live at Lone Oak Circle, which is on the northern edge of the farm fields, just north of the golf course at Shadow Lake. So I can see the trees from my bedroom window. I know this meeting is addressed only to a specific issue of moratorium, but I just want to make a comment about the golf course in general and mine and our relationship to it. Since I moved here many years ago, I've had a senior walking pass, which permits me to play golf at Shadow Lake virtually all the time if I had the energy and time. As it is, I play 100 to 120 rounds a year, and at 5.1 miles of walking, that's up to 600 miles a year, which I think contributes to health, mental, physical, and emotional. In a previous incarnation, I was a member at Oak Hill for many years. And every time I go out and play at Shadow Lake, I'm reminded of how similar the design is, the feel of the place. And I can't help but think that the designers might have been influenced by that. I'm a member of the Dawn Patrol. That means I go out before sunup. And what a pleasure it is to be walking along with the deer off in the side and the blue herons and the fowl. It's a wonderful experience. As you all know, we are very blessed to be in this community, in this special part of Monroe County, in this special part of upstate New York, and it would be a shame to lose those golf courses, especially Shadow Lake, which is my favorite. So I hope that the moratorium happens, but I hope that the town is able to come to some way to keep it.
Robin Pajeric, Samuel Ogie, Carol Samuel.
Hi, my name is Robin Pajeric. I live at 18 Huntington Meadow. Huntington Meadow butts up against Clark Road, and I'm not the house on the corner, I'm the second one down. I bought my house many, many years ago when house prices were at a premium, and they tacked on an almost extra $100,000 to the price of my house because I was so close to the golf course. So I'm really pissed about this, I'll tell you. My main concern, though, is I don't want to happen to us what happened to the IBM Country Club. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the area down Endicott, Endwell, Johnson City, next to Binghamton, but there was an absolutely gorgeous Robert Trent Jones golf course there, and IBM pulled out of that area and just shut it down. And they stopped mowing, and they stopped caring for the buildings, and the buildings flooded, and they rotted, and the weeds grew, and home prices there had been at a premium. They plummeted. People could not sell their homes. Businesses up to 5 miles away that had nothing to do with the golf course, just were in the general area, ended up going out of business because it was so ugly to look at, those weeds and grass not being taken care of, that nobody wanted to go shop in that area. And as long as we have this 12-month moratorium, I would like to have it tacked on that they have to upkeep the golf course, that they've got to mow that grass, and they've got to keep the building up, because otherwise there's no possibility another company or organizations want to come in and turn it into another golf course. If they let it rot, the only choice will be to break it up and sell it into individual properties. And they've already put out that they're not intending to do any upkeep on the property, and I'm really upset about that. So thank you very much.
I'm Samuel Ogie. I live at 1924 Clark Road at the corner of Huntington Meadow. My property is surrounded by the golf course. I think based on the applause tonight and the votes that we saw, to a certain degree, we're preaching to the choir here. We all seem to be in agreement that the moratorium is a good idea, and for the record, I very much support the 12-month moratorium on development. For those who might not be sure where they stand, I just wanted to make it clear that when we say that everyone thought that this was going to be a golf course, this is not something where everyone just hoped or we had this vague idea that it would be a golf course. We have 30-plus years of filings with the DEC by Dolomite saying they intended to leave it a golf course. and that when the quarry was done, it was going to remain a golf course in the reclamation plan that they filed with the DEC. The town has said for many years publicly in the 2010 comprehensive master plan that the intention was for it to be a golf course. So this is public. This is not a change on the part of the people of the town or of the town's intention. It's in line with what Dolomite has told us for 30 years. So if they go and they change the direction without warning to the town, I think it's completely reasonable that we should have the right for a reasonable period of time to determine what's best for the town. And I thank the board for taking this move.
Thank you, Sam.
Good evening. I'm Carol Samuel, residing at number 27 Huntington Meadow for 42 years. Our street is returning to a family-oriented street. Several families with young children have recently moved in. They're making it much as it was when our homes were built in the late 60s. Traffic and personal safety are serious concerns now and will only increase if many homes occupy the property now known as Shadow Pines. I'm in favor, definitely, of the moratorium, and I'm so glad to hear it was extended to 12 months. That was a concern. And surely hope that once it's established, the town of Penfield will get it right. Even as late as the adoption of the 2010 master plan, all of this controversy might have been avoided with foresight by realizing nothing is forever, not even golf courses.
Carol Southby, Claudia Thomas, Richard Young.
Carol Southby, 115 Huntington Meadow. I've lived there for 25 years, so I've been a resident of Penfield for 25 years. I may as well throw my notes away now to some extent, because I was so relieved to hear that you'd extended the idea of the moratorium to 12 months. I was very concerned that 6 months just was not going to give a local committee time to do anything. I was also concerned that that was going to send a message to Oldcastle that you were not particularly serious, because that certainly when I read 6 months, it didn't seem as if the town was very serious. So I'm very relieved to hear that you decided to make the moratorium 12 months, and I certainly support that, or preferably a permanent moratorium on development there. And I do have a couple of questions. So, I mean, to establish exactly what the objectives of the moratorium are, what should be accomplished even in that 12 months. And also, is the town willing to use some of the fund balance, some of the uncommitted surplus funds, an amount that I understand to be about $3.9 million, to assist a prospective buyer who is not a developer, obviously, to purchase the land and development rights, or for the town even to purchase that land themselves? I don't know if that's something you've considered. As I looked at the town website today, under the Parks Department, the town is actually lacking in its own park spaces. It has a certain amount, but if the town were able to acquire Shadow Pines, that would immediately double town park lands owned by the town. And I'm not talking about intensive management here. I know there's some people like to see everything mowed and tidy, but to allow some of it to have a natural progression to forest so that it would be low maintenance, trails open to everyone for passive recreation. So if it's not a golf course, that would allow those of us who do not play golf to actually be able to walk there and feel as if that was a great place to go and get the sort of exercise that we could get if we did play golf. So if the town is able to secure purchase of the property for green space, I would support that, as well as supporting the 12-month moratorium. So thank you.
Claudia.
Ladies first.
I'm Claudia Thomas, and I reside at 1911 Clark Road. I actually signed up to speak before I heard that the moratorium was extended to 12 months. I would just like to add that those of us on Clark Road that are lucky enough to have a little acreage have purchased there to avoid being surrounded by crowded housing. And as we all know, those of us who travel down Clark Road, it's a busy one. So needless to say, I am in full support of the moratorium.
Claudia, could you repeat your address, please?
1911 Clark Road.
Thank you.
Good evening. I appreciate the chance to make my comments, and I'm commenting as not a resident of the town of Penfield, but as a golfer who has played Shadow Pines and Shadow Lake many times. Although I do have ties to Penfield, my deceased former wife grew up here. My mother lived here for a while before she passed away. I am a golfer. I've played dozens of courses in the area, including Shadow Lake and Shadow Pines. And my favorite course of all the courses I've played, all the public courses, I haven't played any private ones, is Shadow Pines. I think it's a beautiful place, and I'm in strong favor of that remaining as a golf course. People will say, well, I'm not a golfer. Why should I care whether it's a park or a golf course, or for that matter, a place for a development of houses? Well, the answer is, I'm not a farmer either. And I can look at farms and appreciate the beauty, including the Knickerbocker Farm, which is right contiguous to my house in Pittsford. Pittsford was smart enough to buy the developmental rights to the Knickerbocker Farm as well as other farms, and I understand that Penfield has done similar actions by purchasing the developmental rights to farms. It's the right way to go. Now, I don't know how long it takes to negotiate and so forth and what the procedures are, but I would tell you that the 12-month moratorium is a wonderful idea. But from someone that doesn't know all the facts, I would say that you ought to start thinking about buying the developmental rights to these properties and finding somebody to operate the golf courses in the future. Now, if it can be done for a farm, it can be done for a golf course. It just makes perfect sense. So I guess my thought is don't tarry on this. Have the moratorium and get serious about what you want these properties to be in the future. And if you do that, then it will be preserved for generations and not have this kind of thing come up again. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Jeff Burns, Mike Ruff, Robert Peterson.
Hi, my name is Mike Ruff. I live at 35 Pond Valley Circle in Penfield. I also work for Remax Realty Group in real estate, and I'm also on the Heart of Penfield Committee, a committee that several of us here have been meeting twice a week to discuss this issue, to come up with alternatives, and do a lot of the research for the town board to work in conjunction with the town board. So I'd like to give you three reasons why I think three suggestions to the town board. Number one, and I don't mean any disrespect to the two attorneys on the town board, I strongly feel we need a fund. I think we need some real estate, commercial attorneys on retainer. I think we need, for example, Steve Tierney at Woods over at Gilman works on commercial real estate transactions 10 hours a day. I think we need him or someone like him on retainer to give us some legal advice, to give us some experience of what we can and cannot do with this land. That's suggestion number one. Suggestion number two, I feel we've had a 50-year mistake with the zoning. Maybe Shadow Lake will be a golf course, but who knows in 2 to 5 years if they don't want to develop it? What is going to stop us from being back here in 2 to 5 years? We need to come up with a change in zoning, and we need to do that ASAP. And thirdly, I've talked to Dr. Thomas Putnam. He's our superintendent of schools. He said with the already existing 86 new homes that are going up, our schools will be at capacity. For every new home that goes in Penfield, we average 1.2 students. Our schools cannot handle another subdivision. Our school, Thomas Putnam said, they would have to build another school. They would have to build more classrooms. Our schools would be burgeoning. Our schools would be full, and that's not what we want for our young people. We don't want every classroom to be at capacity or over capacity. And we don't want all this construction at the schools. We want our kids to be able to learn and be able to use the green space. So those are my 3 points. Put some attorneys on retainer, change the zoning, and be careful about our schools. Thank you very much.
Welcome back from Nevada.
Thank you. Thank you. It was 65 degrees warmer where I was this morning.
You did a poor job of bringing it back, Jeff.
What's that?
You did a poor job of bringing it back here.
I'm sorry. I did my best. Thank you. My name's Jeff Burns. I live on Scarborough Park. So there are at least 2 dimensions to this issue, one of which has been talked about quite a bit tonight, about the desire of the community to save Shadow Pines as a golf course or green space. But there's another dimension to this as well, and that's the need to have a buffer away from the quarry that's there. A lot of people come into the community and they never know for a long time that there is a quarry there, unless they live very close by. And then there are explosions. There's regular blasting that occurs there. And we've heard a couple of people mention things about broken windows, dust, and foundation damage. It seems reasonable for the town to require a perimeter, a buffer around this, and it seems unreasonable that there would be any notion of building so close that there could be such damage to property. So this may be another dimension to looking at the solution to this, is to require an extensive perimeter around such an industrial site where there's blasting occurring. And I know that there are communities around the country that have done such a thing, even as much as over half a mile or a mile. I would also like to repeat the questions that Carol Southby had. I don't know if you can, is this an appropriate venue for you answering the questions, or is it later in the meeting that you would prefer to answer questions?
Certainly, we want to hear about the moratorium component. We are capturing any questions that come up, Jeff, and certainly, we'll work to address any of those as we move forward.
Okay, so in terms of the objectives of the moratorium and what would be accomplished in milestones, is there anything you can tell us about that now, or do you prefer to wait until later?
I mean, one of the things that we need to do is, again, we'll get the moratorium in place, and then from there to identify the committee and then charge the committee, and that'll be something that this board will do. As you can imagine, we've got over 80 people that have signed up to be on the committee. Obviously, all 80 people can't be on a committee, so this board is going to have to select that committee and then certainly define the objectives for that. And that's not something that is going to be done tonight, but that will be something that the board will be discussing at future meetings.
Another issue concerning the quarry is that it's a non-conforming use, meaning that it existed before our zoning was put in place and the residential there, and it is currently zoned as residential. Is that correct, the quarry itself?
Yes, it is.
That seems, why is it zoned residential, I guess is the question.
Because that was the underlying zoning at the time when they started, similar to the underlying zoning of both golf courses were residential. the underlying zoning for our 2 gun clubs and for Baker Commodities. I mean, if you take a look at it, all of those, because at the time, back in as far back as the early 1900s through current, that had been the underlying zoning all along, and so that has stayed that underlying zoning.
Now, is non-conforming use intended to be permanent and infinite? I mean, does it go through all time, or is there ever a limit to that?
And you're coming down a path that I'm going to recognize our town attorney.
Okay.
So,
Legally and constitutionally, pre-existing non-conforming uses that don't conform to the underlying zoning have a constitutional right to exist permanently, if they want to.
Right. Now, I've heard of other communities, though, setting deadlines, that there would be a reasonable deadline set where an individual or an organization or a company that owns property like that they could amortize their investment given a reasonable amount of time, and then it reverts to the zoning that would be allowed in the area. Is that possible in the state of New York and in Penfield?
It's possible in the state of New York, and it's possible in Penfield, and it depends on the nature of the underlying pre-existing non-conforming use as to what a reasonable period of amortization, if you will, of the value of that business. And I understand that the quarry has a useful life of about 35 years, and the amount of investment that a business has paid to the site also has an influence on the reasonableness of amortization periods. So while it is possible.
All right, so this would be another direction that we could be exploring going forward as well, is to perhaps look at a limit in terms of
everything is on the table.
I think that's right. I think the town attorney said it exactly right. As part of this is to look at everything.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jeff. Hi, Bob.
Hi. Robert Peterson, 1931 Clark Road, which is just about across from the 9th tee of Shadow Pines. I do support the 12-month moratorium. That was my one question. My second question is more of a suggestion or observation. It looks as though the intent of the moratorium is to address some zoning changes that will be implemented. And I'm a little concerned that since these will be implemented after Oldcastle listed the property for sale as R120 development potential, that they're going to come back at you with a legal assault. Is that the way you see it? That there's a good potential that they'll be unhappy enough about that change in zoning after the fact that they'll take legal action to stop it?
So, I was going to say, okay, Mr. Horowitz.
Legally,
I'm not going to take my attorney hat off.
Legally, anything is possible.
I'm not an attorney either. It's just a question that's running through my mind at night.
Sure thing.
Legally, anything is possible. There are lawsuits filed every day. Some of them have merit, some of them do not. We obviously cannot control what the owner wants to do or will do. What we can control is how we want to see Penfield develop and to take the appropriate steps to safeguard the community in which we live.
And I think the town has made a good case for its intent, with the 10-year comprehensive plan in place. That's our intent is made pretty clear. And it seems to me that the intent of Oldcastle was not made clear, in particular that they sort of blindsided you with such short notice of the sale. And I'm worried that we get into a legal fight and any funds you have to apply towards development rights or keeping the golf course or keeping it as recreational use will be consumed by a legal battle. I hate to see that happen. And my suggestion is perhaps there's a possibility of you, the town, getting together with Oldcastle and having a heart-to-heart talk and say, listen, you could gain some, you could save some face and gain some good PR if you got together with the town, got reasonable about the price you're asking, and even help us keep this as a recreational space, ideally a golf course, but if not that, something else. And maybe the town town people will support coming up with some funds to do that. But I'd rather see a cooperative approach there than a legal battle and make all the attorneys rich. I thank you.
That's why I always ask our town attorney to keep it short as he gives his briefs so that we're measuring by the word. Please.
The next group of people I have are in support of the moratorium, chose not to come up and voice their opinion, but would like to be mentioned. 2 people from Stone Island Lane, 1 person on Baird Road, 2 people on Qualtrough Road, a person on Colonial Drive, 3 people on Harvard Circle, and 2 people on Creekstone Run. I also have some write-ins that came into me this afternoon in support of the moratorium. Seton Court, a person at Seton Court, very happy with the, and agrees with 12-month moratorium. Ellen Huggins in support, and someone on Woodland Way, Penfield, New York. That's it.
Great, thank you. Is that all of those that have signed up, Amy?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Okay. If you didn't sign up to speak, now's the opportunity, and so we'll try to get you in order. So this gentleman first, and anyone else? Yes, ma'am, you will be next after that if you want to just start to make your way up. And anyone else that, okay, we'll start with these 2, and then we'll move on from there. Welcome.
Thank you. My name is Shalom Wertzberger. I live on 35 Huntington Meadows. For the record, I support the moratorium, and I would like to suggest that part of the study, assuming that the moratorium will be accepted, should be, since we have heard so much about houses being damaged, wouldn't the town engineer or building supervisor be able to place reasonable demands for houses that are supposed to stand continual explosion damage? And thus make anybody, if houses will be, if somebody is going to look at developing such houses, they should know that the cost is going to be astronomical, because it'll have to be basically earthquake-proof, continuous earthquake-proof.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Welcome.
Hi. My name is Mary Ann Begland, and I've been a resident at 1839 Baird Road for over 30 years. I do have a vested interest in that my house is surrounded on 3 sides by Shadow Lake property. That can speak for itself. I've been lucky all these years to enjoy the green space that I think is so important to a balanced community. And I also want to add my voice to those animal friends that can't be here. But all that acreage is home to a great number of not only animals but birds. Some of them very common, but some not so common. I love it going out some nights with my dog at 2 in the morning to hear an owl and trying to figure out which kind of an owl it is that's way up high in one of those high trees. And even though you may not live as close to that property as I do, I think a lot of the animals you see probably spend a good time in that area at night, and for places where the birds find food and berries to eat and shelter in the shrubby parts. And I think we will all miss it if it's gone. And when I say gone, I mean filled with houses that don't give us the joy that the green space does.
Thank you, Mary Ann. Thank you.
I'm Jan Kelly, and I live on Qualtrough Road. I was also going to speak for the wildlife since I hadn't heard anybody mention it. My concern is the displacement of all of the animals. Where will they go? There's generations upon generations of living beings that will now be losing their homes. The other thing I wanted to mention is Qualtrough Road is used as a cut-through from Embry to Browncroft. A lot of people use it to avoid 5 Mile Line. I cannot imagine what it would be like if there were 300 homes at the end of Qualtrough, where Qualtrough and Clerk come together at the golf course, what that intersection is going to be like, and the amount of speeding cars that we're going to have to deal with. I am in support of the moratorium, and I hope you folks do the right thing.
Thank you, Jan. Thank you. Any others that would like to address the board on this matter? Yes, sir. Oh, yes, ma'am. Excuse me. I apologize. And anyone else that would like to speak, certainly if you'd like to make your way up, please feel free to do so.
Thank you.
I apologize.
It's
Good
no
evening.
problem. My name is Lou Ann Reynes. I live on Shoecraft Road. I've been in Rochester for 29 years, in Penfield for 14, but my family's been in Penfield for 50 plus. And what everyone said, honestly, I feel honored to be part of the town. The nature, the green space, that's the reason why we moved here. I came from JFK, where I grew up, cement jungle. So anything we can do to preserve the green space and the beautiful town of Penfield, I'm all for it. I'm also one of the 80 people who volunteered to be on the committee.
Thank you in advance for that. Thank you.
Appreciate everyone's time.
Could you spell your last name, please?
Sure, like reindeer, R-E-I-N-I-S.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Mike Jameson. I live at 1850 Clark Road. And one thing I want to address, too, is many of us are in retirement or going into retirement. 66% of my taxes are school taxes. And we all know the schools are definitely going to have to expand. And I'll tell you, it's going to put a burden on us, and we'll probably have to leave Penfield. So I'm assuming there might be some other retired people in the same situation, so I just want to point that out.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you.
Hello. Hello, my name's Mark Damagala, and I live on Howard Circle. I'm on the golf course, Shadow Pines. Enjoy it very much. One thing that I support the moratorium. One thing I haven't heard about is the possibility of having Old Castle Dolomite Group support host a community benefit package where they would be required as part of their operation, permitted by New York State and approved by the town to support green space, alternatives, continuing operation of golf course. They could fund it. Ideas could be put forth for a community host benefit package. And it would be entirely on Newcastle. And it would afford an effort to preserve the golf courses. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Mark.
Mark, spelling of your last name, please.
Yes, Domagala.
G-A.
L-A.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
My name's Ned Benson. I live at 108 Harwood Circle. I just have a question. I don't know if the town would be notified or has been in contact with anybody. It's my understanding that the Odenbach family has tried to buy all three back, that they supposedly have made an agreement on Greystone, and that Shadow Pines was rejected. So I don't know if you guys have heard anything, or Mr. Remax there who talked about it last time. I don't know if he's got
what I can share with you, Ned, is if you go online on our website at penfield.org, there was a letter that came into me at the end of last week that was from John Odenbach Jr. He indicated in his letter, so I'm going to paraphrase that. You can go back and read it, verbatim, but essentially, they did make an offer for all 3 golf courses. The offer that they made for the Shadow Pines development was $1.1 million. And they go on to further say that they were looking to purchase that not for a golf course, but for development. So we also have heard that John Jr. And group are working to possibly acquire Greystone. And then we've also heard that there are some groups, plural groups, in town and in the Rochester area and out of town, looking at Shadow Lake. So that's the best information that at least that I have at this point, and then the letter that came in last Friday.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep, absolutely, sir. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Juliana Martz, and I live on 132 Harwood Circle. My family and I moved from the city about 2 years ago because of the traffic, because we used to live near a lot of traffic and we could hear a lot of cars and stuff. So we decided to move to Harwood Circle because of the quietness and stuff, and we love it because, it's not traffic, and we're backed up to the golf course, so in the winter time we can just run outside and just play in the snow. So I would really appreciate if you guys could do something to preserve that and not have so much houses or whatever, just keep it open and stuff. So yes, I am in support of the moratorium, and thank you for listening.
Great, thank you. Thank you. Great job. Coming before the town board or any board is a little intimidating at times, and then you add 100 people in the audience. So kudos to you. You've got a bright future ahead.
I'm Lori McCallum Rayner, and I grew up at 1915 Clark Road. And I'm not a current resident, but I've been here for many months caring for my parents. And I would want nothing but a golf course. It was a cornfield and it was a meadow when I was growing up. I didn't live here as a golf course. But I just want to say there are other maybe for-profit alternatives to the development cemetery, really quiet neighbors, for-profit, low little stones. I just want to throw that on the table. So.
All right. Thank you.
Could you please spell your last name?
Rayner, R-A-Y-N-E-R, 1950 Clark Road.
Thank you, Lori. Anyone else? Okay, so I'll take a minute and we'll give one last shout out if anyone would like to address the board on this particular matter. So next steps, I think what this board has indicated that we will keep this meeting open until next Wednesday. So anyone that either wasn't able to come or wasn't able to register their concerns for or against or make any comments, they would have the opportunity to do that. The board has also asked that we run through this meeting until Friday, that if anyone that has an interest to join the committee, to please submit your interest to my office, supervisor@penfield.org. And we will keep that open until Friday. And then the board will start the process of taking a look at the 80-plus residents that have indicated an interest, and we'll start to go through, and again, I had mentioned in my column and also at the work session last week, looking to have that committee approximately 20 people, 11 of those directly associated with the golf courses or neighbors of the golf course, 6 residents from across the town, a member of Conservation Board, Historic Preservation Board, and the school district, and then a person that we would identify as the leader of that group. And so we'll be looking over the next handful of weeks to take a look at all those individuals that indicated an interest. We have all of your email addresses, and the goal of the board is that once the committee is selected, certainly we will make sure everybody is aware of who is on and who is not on. And then the board is slated on March 23rd to vote as it relates to the moratorium. And then shortly after that, the board is interested in beginning the process of getting the committee together and starting to identify next steps, opportunities, a number of comments that were made tonight to figure into that discussion and dialogue. And then we'll also make available, any resources that are needed and necessary by way of questions, comments about storm sanitary sewers, any DOT, EPODs, anything like that. Those resources will be made available to that committee. So those are kind of the next steps. I'll just take one last opportunity. Is anyone else like to address the board on this matter? Please, sir, if you would.
I don't want to make a
So then all I'm going to ask is that I'm going to give you this little magic mic here.
I just want to give you a message on the floor. I read the board's copy of the letter that you sent to Dolomite.
Yes, sir.
I think it was an excellent letter, and I just want to thank you, since nobody else mentioned that, to take that step to reach out to Dolomite. So thank you very much. That letter was very well written.
Thank you. Is there anyone else, any comments? You can. It's not like we have any others jumping out in front of you, so please. And because we're taping, the reason we ask that folks come forward is we're taping this, and those that could not be here, we want to just make sure they have the opportunity to hear the comments made. So thank you for that. Robin, I believe?
Yes.
Okay.
18 Huntington Meadow, and I just wanted to comment, someone else touched on it briefly on the traffic situation. Huntington Meadow put in 6 speed humps to try to cut down on the traffic, and actually the way the speed humps work is if you have a high vehicle like an SUV, if you take those suckers at about 65, you just breeze over them. And so it has actually increased the speed on the street for people with high cars. And when my son was younger, I actually watched 2 cars head-on and slide into 2 kids walking because there are no sidewalks on Huntington Meadow. And right now, for the older kids, they pick up on one end of the street and they drop off on the other. If you put that housing complex in, you're going to have to put sidewalks all in through that area. So the town has to consider that expense as well.
Great.
So thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Yes, sir. Joe? How are you, Joe?
Good. Joe Callan, 1410 Harris Road. About this committee, I think that the people that get on it, I don't know what your selection process will be, but the people that get on it should be somewhat creative people, because we might have to come up with alternatives to make this work if we can't do it legally the way we absolutely want to do it. So they should be people not like me or any Tom, Dick, and Harry that just says vent their spleen. They have to be people that really know a little bit about it. So maybe you could talk a little bit about how you plan to appoint these people to the committee.
Yeah, and I think, again, we will be doing that. Again, we're not prepared to do that this evening. We're going to keep it open until Friday, and then we'll start that process, and we'll lay that out as we move forward.
Thanks, Tony.
Thanks, Joe. And Joe, you're a local author, so you are a creative guy.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Roseanne Lill. I live at 5 Shadow Pines Drive. I just have a quick question. Is it possible for the town to change the zoning on the property, or is it something that's almost impossible to do?
It is a possibility.
But
Everything
difficult.
is on the table.
But it's very difficult, is that what you're saying?
No.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Roseanne. Thank you. One last opportunity. Thank you very much for everyone that came out. Please follow our website at penfield.org. Anything that we get new regarding this, we'll post on that. Have a good evening, and we'll give folks 30 seconds. I'll just shout out downstairs. We'll just take 30 seconds to let folks get on their way safely. Thank you.
Thank you all for coming.
Great to have an audience. Thank you.
Okay, we are going to resume with our regularly scheduled town board meeting. We just adjourned for a short time, and we're going to reconvene. We just held a public hearing as it relates to a moratorium on Shadow Lake and Shadow Pines. So, thank you, Amy. Thank you, Will. Thank you. All right. Now we'll resume. We'll next move on to our agenda. It's communications and announcements. I know that there are just a couple of announcements, and I would ask Councilwoman Cole one announcement on her next office hours.
All right, well, thank you. My next community chat is March 15th, Tuesday, March 15th, 5:30 to 7, new book area at the library, if you'd like to come and talk about anything. Thank you.
Thank you. And then just a reminder, tomorrow evening at 7 o'clock in the back of the room, there will be a public information meeting hosted by DEC, Department of Environmental Conservation, as it relates to the proposed update to the air permit for Baker Commodities. And that's tomorrow evening, 7 o'clock, right here in this room, and they will be hosting a public information meeting. All right, we'll move on to public participation, and I'll ask our clerk, is there anyone that has signed up for public participation?
Yes, Mel Killen.
Hello, Mel.
Good evening. Good evening, everybody. Mel Callen, 1410 Harris Road. I've got two separate issues that I just wanted to bring up. One has to do with the planning board membership, and the other has to do with PCTV. First, the PCTV regarding channel 15 and 12. First, channel 15. I understand I'm not. Some of this technology is above my expertise. Yeah, really. But I understand a NASA satellite feed has been utilized to keep Time Warner from reclaiming the channel, which they have a legal right to do and have done so in other areas of the state if the town is not providing community programming. Without new local programming, the town is disenfranchising, I believe, local groups, organizations, and constituencies. We have a number of hot topics in the town, like Save the Shadow Pines, and our community doesn't have the opportunity to learn more about issues that are of interest to them, much less of importance to them. So I believe this creates a lack of transparency.
So you do realize this is being broadcast live tonight?
Yes,
And then it is replayed after that. You can go online
I'm addressing that as well.
Okay.
Channel 12, only town board, planning board, and zoning boards are broadcasted live. I know the school district has raised many concerns of their own about not having their meetings and programs available as they have been in the past. Regarding the availability on computers and apps on phones, it seems like it's really cherry-picking the demographics who meet the requirements to view online. Many folks are on fixed budgets and don't have the finances and skills to allow for computer or cell phone viewing. And learning more about this technology from friends in other towns, as I understand it, these devices are costly, as well as the data fee and the internet connection. So I know we pay Time Warner for the service, and the monthly basic cable has been reduced to about $8 a month. And this is much less than the devices and the related costs to be able to view outside of the family television. And there are times that the quality of the devices are poor. I know the town receives, I don't know the exact amount, but over $500,000 in our franchise fees. And I understand the cost to minimally upgrade the necessary equipment for Penfield cable television is $65,000. We are all interested in utilizing our tax revenue, and of course, the franchise fees that Time Warner subscribers pay most judiciously. But having our own PCTV be void of the usual programming and rebroadcasts that we have enjoyed for years since September is not an efficient use of taxpayers and franchise fees payers. The question remains, what are we getting from the town that is receiving our franchise fees? I understand there have been discussions about sharing services with other towns. However, in talking with some folks in those towns, it doesn't seem to be a viable solution. I don't understand the technical details, but establishing the necessary data connection points and the equipment and technology to make those connections could be costly and certainly close to, if not more than, the $65,000 that we would need just to upgrade a piece of equipment. Additionally, it seems there would need to be a franchise agreement renewal needed, and that could be very costly and open a whole new can of worms. The town used to pride itself on transparency, but without easy access to information that had been provided on PCTV, the transparency has been diminished. At the work session last week, I know the town is now considering updating the telecommunication system. No doubt this is necessary and certainly more costly than $65,000. Updating the equipment for our PCTV is also necessary. Tonight's public hearing about the moratorium is an example of allowing residents to voice their concerns about an issue. It was a great process. Can we have a public hearing about the reduction of services with our PCTV? Or would it be helpful for the board if we gathered signatures on a petition to support the allocation of $65,000 for the updated equipment? I don't know if you want to address that, and then I next have a few comments about the planning board.
Go right on with the planning board.
Okay. The concern is the reduction to 5 members. In doing some research work, I know that many of our local other towns nearby, Perrington, Brighton, Irondequoit, Webster, Pittsford, and that's as far as I went and looking, they all have 7 members on their planning boards. And I know we used to, and I just think even 7 is a small number of residents in the town to be discussing and doing the planning for such a large town. But the other concern is the diversity that we have on the town board, or the planning board. Other towns actually have term limits, and we do not. But for instance, a member has been on 14 years, another one for 19 years, one for 2 years, one for 7 years, and I understand you're going to be appointing a replacement for one who recently resigned. I believe that person has been on before. It just seems like there's other residents in this community that could provide the expertise, may I say a little bit of gender diversity on the planning board to be able to make these decisions, even with looking at what's happening with the Shadow Pines and the decisions that have to be made there. I just think we need, I would appreciate if the town would relook at the membership of the planning board, both the numbers and perhaps get some fresh blood in there and get some other perspective. I know engineers are very important to this process. My son-in-law is an engineer, but not just from that perspective. Maybe 1 or 2 people who can give almost like a consumer perspective, that's a non-engineering perspective about planning for the town of Penfield and being members of the planning board and being able to give that input. So those are the 2 points that I wanted to make, the PCTV and the membership on the planning board.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay?
Thank you, Mel. Thank you.
Kevin Gallagher.
Kevin Gallagher, 1973 Dublin Road. I realize now that I made a big mistake waiting for this second speaking time, because some of these issues probably be interesting for the people who just left. So I'm just going to...
This is actually the first time you've had an opportunity to address the board. The other time was to talk about moratorium only. Right. So this is really the first time.
It is, well, I understand that, but it's disappointing that some of the people would be interested in this topic and how this topic may tie into the moratorium. So, with all the bad news in the world, with all work during the day, during the week, we have our homes, our shelters here so we can recharge to fight another day. Issues such as Shadow Pines and Shadow Lake hit us where we live. I believe this is an opportunity, a reminder to strengthen or create neighborhood groups for issues such as these. I am a veteran. My father is a veteran. All my uncles are veterans. My mother is a charter member of the Penfield Volunteer Ambulance, and my grandmother helped create part of the community quilt, which is on the wall right there. We care about the community, big and small. My point is, seen or unseen, we all contribute to the community, and we all care about this community. That's why we're here. I am in support of the moratorium, and I believe that if Oldcastle lived in this community, they would feel the same way about it. There is another issue that I believe is just as important, but might be overshadowed. There is a fast-moving proposal for a cidery on the hilltop near the intersection of Dublin and Sweets Corner roads. I'm calling this Dublin Hill. While there are differences between this issue, there are similarities, especially character of community and the quality of life. In 2002, the community of Penfield invested about $10 million to purchase development rights to protect this and other properties within the town. This is an immediate test to see if Penfield can protect its rights and its character. I invite everyone to visit Dublin Hill. It is identified as one of the most important parcels within the entire town. See firsthand the scenic views, the agricultural and natural character of the space, to understand why we believe it is important to continue to protect it. You'll be able to see the hills to the south heading towards Victor. To the west, the distant skyline of the city of Rochester, over trees, over the shadows. Farmlands and forests to the north. To the east is a hilltop where rolling farmland cradles the sky. That is exactly where they propose to put their building, their parking, smack dab in the center of that beautiful view. It seems like a company putting their logo right on Mona Lisa's face. Their plan does not protect or preserve. It does more than simply degrade. It destroys. I am distressed by the planning board's response to this proposal. I heard each board member say something like, "It sounds like a nice idea." The concerns expressed just minutes before by neighbors during the public participation segment seem to have been completely forgotten or ignored. As it turns out, many of our concerns we mentioned are specifically described in the 2002 easement contract. Scenic vistas, view sheds, natural qualities are all detailed and supposed to be protected. Also, it seems like some or all the planning board members have not been to the site right here in the town of Penfield. That leads us to believe this was a done deal before we ever heard about it. We don't feel we are being properly represented on this issue. I'm not alone feeling this, but it seems that this is worse than a bad business plan or a hobby. This feels like a playhouse, a clubhouse, a frat house. But even worse, this feels like a tax shelter trying to leverage AG law to hide some money from the IRS. From a commercial business, craft, or hobby perspective, this site does not make good sense. There are so many types of limitations at this site: local ordinances, agriculture law, pesticide regulation, licensing. The location is too remote for a possible clientele. It is hurdle after hurdle, which is only great for lawyers. Once they commit to this site, they will be tied to it like a ball and chain, every year, every harvest. If you want to dabble in cidery, brewing, winemaking, and distilling, it would make better sense to have all those options open to you in a commercial space. It would make better sense to pick a location that is accessible to possible customers, closer to the city or a suburban center. This seems like a bad business plan, doomed to fail at our detriment. 2, 5, 10 years down the line is too late to realize this is a huge mistake. I suggest that a new site be chosen without so many limitations, without constraints, that has the flexibility to easily accommodate varied processes and interests, that can support business growth and personal growth. This is a chance to rethink goals and intentions. As I stated earlier this week, I believe an agent or representative must be retained to rigorously protect the rights of the town in Penfield and the community in relation to the 2002 Conservation Easement Agreement and protect Dublin Hill. It is justified maintenance of a $10 million investment. The Planning Board is meeting next Thursday, March 10th, in this very room. It is listed as preliminary and final approval at the same time. I'm trying to create a petition. I'll try to make some flyers. We feel the entire weight of the Dublin Hill issue on our shoulders. We would appreciate some help. With that in mind, the Penfield Town Board is feeling weight on the shadows. So I believe it was very supportive of members of the community to show some appreciation for you, and I thank them for that. I've created some public Facebook pages. Public means you don't need to belong to Facebook to access them online. Pages include Dublin Hill, Wayland Road East End, Pond Valley, Protect Dublin Hill, and don't forget, Save the Heart of Penfield is also on Facebook. So showing up to meetings, writing letters, signing petitions, participating in these activities, and spreading the word are all important. Tonight's meeting was a great example of productive conversation and the opportunities that arise from them. I'm asking all residents to pull together as a community, as neighbors and neighborhoods for the good of our community on both of these issues, both the shadows and protecting Dublin Hill, because we can do this. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Will you submit a copy of that to the clerk, either not tonight, but email to the clerk?
I will.
If you would?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Okay, is there anyone that has not signed up that would like to address the board on any matter? Okay, there's another opportunity at the end of the meeting after our resolutions if anyone would like to address the board again on any matter. Move on to additions and deletions to the agenda, please.
Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to make one addition to tonight's agenda, Resolution 16T-084, appointment to the Penfield Library Board. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That will be added as 084. Seeing no other additions or deletions, we have the January 20th, 2016 minutes before us, and would entertain a motion of approval of those minutes.
I move that the minutes of January 20th be approved.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any discussions, comments, or modifications to those minutes? Okay, seeing none, I'd ask for a roll call vote, please.
Cole?
Aye.
LaFountain?
Aye.
Metzler? Aye. Moore?
Aye.
Quinn?
Aye.
5 ayes.
Thank you. Since the last meeting, has the town board, town clerk, or town attorney received any petitions to be brought before the board this evening? No. Okay. We'll move on to resolution by function, law and finance number 074, please.
Appointment to the planning board.
Moved.
Second.
Be it resolved that Jim Burton on Watson Road, Penfield, be appointed to the Penfield Planning Board for a term expiring December 31st, 2018. Thank you.
Thank you. Discussion?
Just quickly, Mr. Supervisor, Jim Burton did serve on our planning board once before. Unfortunately, had to step down, but has expressed interest in returning, and I think he's going to be a wonderful asset and knows the process and will be able to jump right in and get to work.
Thank you. Seeing no other discussion, I'd ask for a roll call vote, please.
Cole?
Aye.
LaFountain?
Aye.
Metzler? Aye. Moore?
Aye.
Quinn?
Aye.
5 ayes. 2016 budget amendment, recognition of donation to parks.
Moved.
Second.
Whereas in February 2016, the Parks Department received a donation in the amount of $320 from the Penfield Rotary. Whereas said donation was designated for the purchase of a sign to be placed at the new bocce courts. Whereas the town board desires to have an up-to-date budget in relation to current income and expenditures, be it resolved the following 2016 budget amendment, general fund reserve under description gifts, amount of $320. Thank you.
Thank you. Discussion?
Well, I'll tell a little story. I'm president of Penfield Rotary, so I can tell you how this came about, is we had a district simplified grant opportunity where the Rotary can partner with an organization to do something for the community. And what we did was rehab the bocce courts. They were in disrepair, and they're highly used by a team, and and a lot of seniors use them. And so we got the grant, we received the grant, and we gave the money to the town. And then this extra money, this is for the sign, so we're going to put a sign up saying, there was never a bocce court sign. There's a bocce court sign, and it's going to say that the rehabilitation was partially done by the Penfield Rotary. And then May 23rd is opening day for bocce courts. So we'll have a little ribbon cutting, and Penfield Rotary is going to have a function the next day. So we were very excited by this. And I didn't think I was going to have the opportunity to speak to it, but this is a resolution to accept money, so there's the opportunity. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to the Rotary Club.
Harris Hill. Yeah, oh, yeah, the bocce courts are in Harris Hill, Whalen Park, and they're on the top up by the upper shelter, the sledding hill.
They look great.
Yeah, it's where they give out the fireworks.
Further discussion? Seeing none, a roll call vote, please.
Cole.
Aye.
LaFountain.
Aye.
Metzler.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
Quinn.
Aye.
5 ayes. Approval of issuance of a conditional use permit to allow a catalog company at 1807 Penfield Road.
Moved.
Second.
Whereas an application has been received by the Penfield Town Board for the issuance of a conditional use permit pursuant to 250-5.11D17 of the code to allow a catalog company at 1807 Penfield Road in the Four Corners zoning district. Whereas the Town Board of the Town of Penfield held a public hearing at the Penfield Town Hall on February 17th, 2016 at 7 p.m. to hear the application and all persons interested in this conditional use permit. Now therefore be it resolved that the applicant's request for a conditional use permit at 1807 Penfield Road is hereby granted, subject to the following conditions. Just like to point out, Mr. Supervisor, these are the standard, looks like 7 conditions that we see on applications that come before this board pertaining to the Four Corners zoning district. Thank you.
Thank you. Discussion? Seeing no further discussion, I'd ask for a roll call vote, please.
Cole.
Aye.
LaFountain.
Aye.
Metzler.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
Quinn.
Aye.
5 ayes. Approval of issuance of a conditional use permit to allow an art supply shop, gallery, and classrooms at 1822 Penfield Road.
Moved.
Second.
Whereas an application has been received by the Penfield Town Board for the issuance of this conditional use permit pursuant to 250-.10D17 of the code to allow an art shop, gallery, and classrooms at 1822 Penfield Road in the Four Corners zoning district. Therefore, the Town Board of the Town of Penfield held a public hearing at the Penfield Town Hall on February 17, 2016 at 7 p.m. on said date to consider the application and persons interested in the conditional use permit. Now therefore be it resolved that the applicant's request for the conditional use permit to allow a arts supply shop, gallery, and classroom at 1822 Penfield Road is granted subject to the following conditions. Again, similar to the last resolution, the conditions, 7 conditions based on the Four Corners zoning district are consistent to what we've seen in the past for businesses that want to move into that area of town. Thank you.
Thank you. And I was going to steal your thunder, but go right ahead.
What?
How about the location?
Yeah, it's very exciting because this is the Masonic Temple. This is in the Four Corners, and it's been empty. This is where Allstate was on that corner, but it's also, she's buying the whole building, so it's where the photography studio was too. And they're not going to use the photography studio right away, but the Masonic Temple itself is what she's talking about, doing the art classes in the art gallery. And so this is going to be a perfect use in our estimation for that area, you know, it'll give a little vibrance. And
she's going to do some upgrades to the building.
Yes.
You may not know that there are some windows blocked off at the lodge that she's looking to possibly open up for some space. This is the art gallery, classroom, and shop that's in the village of Webster currently. You may have seen the big, fat, messy art camp sign in the window, and she is looking to come and brighten up the Four Corners a little
Yes.
bit.
Great. Further discussions? Seeing none, a roll call vote, please.
Cole.
Aye.
LaFountain.
Aye.
Metzler.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
Quinn.
Aye.
5 ayes. Authorization to lease land to 1080 Penfield Road LLC for agricultural purposes.
Moved.
Second.
Whereas 1080 Penfield Road LLC is purchasing property at 1080 Penfield Road, AKA General's Farm Market, and wishes to lease a parcel of land from the town of Penfield adjacent to it for agricultural purposes. Whereas it is in the best interest of the town of Penfield to enter into said lease, and now therefore be it resolved that the Penfield Town Board leases to 1080 Penfield Road LLC, a parcel of land located at 1070 Penfield Road for a period of 5 years for agricultural purposes, subject to an agreement to be prepared by the town attorney. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion?
I just mentioned this is a great opportunity. Some of you may recall that the General's property, we entertained a potential application for residential development there, and we pushed back on that. So this is continuing an agricultural use and just leasing a strip of town land in order for that to continue. And we're pleased in that the residential development that we pushed back on has gone away.
This is consistent when the Gentles owned that farm market. The town did in fact lease a portion of that land to the Gentles, and it's land that's owned by the town of Penfield, part of the open space. And when this new owner came in to purchase and to open it back up as a farm market, their interest was to continue that lease. And we have a few of these across the town, adjacent to Schutt's apple cider and gift shop that is on Plank Road. We lease a piece of land there, and then this is another piece. It's a great opportunity to keep it in active agricultural and certainly in good use, consistent with I think what the town has seen for many, many years in that area. Okay, seeing no further comments, I would ask for a roll call vote, please.
Cole?
Aye.
LaFountain?
Aye.
Metzler?
Aye.
Moore?
Aye.
Quinn?
Aye.
5 ayes. Advertising for bids for Department of Public Works storm sewer catch basin repair and replacement.
Moved.
Second.
Be resolved that the Director of Public Works is authorized to advertise in a manner prescribed by law for sealed proposals to furnish the Town of Penfield Department of Public Works with the following: storm sewer catch basin repair and replacement. And be it further resolved that the storm sewer catch basins covered by the proposals shall be in accordance with specifications prepared by the Director of Public Works. Sealed proposals are to be received in the office of the Town Clerk until March 24, 2016, at 11 a.m. local time, and there and then will be opened by the Town Clerk.
Thank you. Discussions?
I would just add, Mr. Supervisor, that attached to the resolution is the request for bid specifications, several pages. It's online for people to review to see what type of specifications we look for when we are seeking to hire out some storm sewer catch basin repair work.
Thank you. Seeing no further discussion, I'd ask for a roll call vote, please.
Cole?
Aye.
LaFountain?
Aye.
Metzler?
Aye.
Moore?
Aye.
Quinn?
Aye.
5 ayes. Purchase 2017 Ford Escape SE 4WD for Engineering Department.
Moved.
Second.
The Director of Public Works desires to purchase one 2017 Ford Escape four-wheel drive with a 1.5-liter EcoBoost engine from Van Bortle Ford for a total cost of approximately $23,372.28. The total funds of approximately $23,372.28 for the purchase are budgeted in the 2016 Engineering Department budget. Now therefore be it resolved that the Director of Public Works is authorized to purchase the vehicle.
Thank you. Discussions? Seeing no further discussions, I'd ask for a roll call vote, please.
Cole?
Aye.
LaFountain?
Aye.
Metzler?
Aye.
Moore?
Aye.
Quinn?
Aye.
5 ayes. Awarding contract for printing program brochures.
So moved.
Second.
Whereas sealed proposals were sought and requested to furnish the Town of Penfield's Recreation Department with printing the seasonal program brochure for 2006 calendar year, including summer, fall, and winter, spring issues, to meet our specifications, and whereas on Thursday, February 11th, proposals from the following companies were received, opened, and read publicly by the Town Clerk. They are Webster Printing Corporation, Penny Lane Printing, Kenyon Press, Drew and Rogers, and the Messenger Post Media. Therefore, be resolved that the contract be awarded to Webster Printing Corporation. It was the low bidder overall, including the alternatives that are listed in the attachment. The final bid was $4,066.
Thank you. Further discussion? See no further discussion, I'd ask for a roll call vote, please.
Cole?
Aye.
LaFountain?
Aye.
Metzler? Aye. Moore?
Aye.
Quinn?
Aye.
5 ayes. Authorization to attend New York State, Recreation Department, NYSRPS Annual Conference.
So moved.
Second.
The Recreation Department staff are members of the New York State Recreation and Park Society. The annual conference will provide professional training in CEU credits that will benefit the town of Penfield. Therefore, be it resolved that the following recreation staff be hereby authorized to attend the 76th Annual New York State Recreation and Park Society Conference and Business Expo from April 17th, April 19th in Hapog, New York. Lynn Ann Conroy. Lynn Ann Conroy will be going. Funds are provided in the 2006 budget. Expenses include registration fees, meals, lodging, transportation, parking, and related expenses.
Thank you. Discussion? Seeing no further discussion, a roll call vote, please.
Cole?
Aye.
LaFountain?
Aye.
Metzler?
Aye.
Moore?
Aye.
Quinn?
Aye.
5 ayes. Authorization for supervisor to sign recreation contracts.
So moved.
Second.
This resolution authorizes the town supervisor to sign 7 recreation contracts, and primarily they are different activities taking place this summer, Independence Day Parade, and at our amphitheater with the different musical groups.
Okay. Discussion? Seeing none, a roll call vote, please.
Cole?
Aye.
LaFountain?
Aye.
Metzler? Aye. Moore?
Aye.
Quinn?
Aye.
5 ayes.
Thank you. Is there any,
Sir, we have
Ma'am?
one other, I'm so sorry.
thank you. Is there any old business to come before the board this evening? Seeing none, we have one new business item. I'd ask our clerk to please read that resolution.
Appointment to the library board.
So moved.
Second.
Be it resolved that Melissa Bowie of 1679 Harris Road be appointed to the Penfield Library Board for a term expiring December 31st, 2016. And the attachment to it is the letter from the chair of the Trust Search Committee, writing to the supervisor to say the Penfield Public Library Board of Trustees approved the appointment of Melissa Bowie to fill the vacancy created by Kim Katat Mayer, who resigned her term in December 2015. This term shall run until December 31st, 2016. The nomination was approved by the Penfield Library Board of Trustees at their meeting February 23rd, and we appreciate giving the official approval of the decision by the Penfield Town Board.
Okay, thank you. Further discussion?
Mr. Supervisor, I would just real quickly like to thank Mrs. Katatmeyer for her service on that board. I think she did a tremendous job.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. All right, seeing no further discussion, I'd ask for a roll call vote, please.
Cole?
Aye.
LaFountain?
Aye.
Metzler? Aye. Moore?
Aye.
Quinn?
Aye.
5 ayes.
Thank you. This takes us to our second public participation opportunity. If you're here in the audience, you can address the board on any matter. If you'd like to call in, you can do so at 340-8771. And Ed, please make your way up, or you can log on at penfield.org. Our friend Ed Linskog, formerly High School Drive, now Legacy Willow Pond.
40 Willow Pond Way, great place to live. They cook all your meals. Councilman Moore, some of the conditions you stated, can you address the dumpster issue for the 2 properties you talked about at the 4 corners? They don't have dumpster enclosures now. Are they required to have them in the future?
Yes, they will be.
Both issues. Okay.
Yep.
Lights in the 4 corners. We're missing 2 heads on 2 light poles down there, and I raised this issue 2 years ago. Has there been a resolution to that problem?
There hasn't been a formal resolution other than we've got our permit from the state to hang lights on those poles, so that's the good news. And then as part of that, Jim Kreckman has built it into his 2016 budget. So if your next logical question is, Ed, when will that happen? prior to the end of 2016 is the best I can give you today or tonight.
A couple of residents asked me, since I was going to be addressing the board, I speak on
So that
the issue.
initial piece was getting the blessing from the state because they are their polls.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, they didn't include it as part of that original package when
That
the
was
turning arrow went in.
unfortunate.
That would
Yeah.
have been the ideal time to do it when everything was there.
Yeah,
But
unfortunately, the permit didn't take as long as it took to get the turning arrow.
Better late than never, right? The Willow Pond project, Penfield Trails Committee is committed to helping local residents and businesses wherever we can render assistance. We're going to start a project at Willow Pond Woods, as I call it. Tony was at a meeting last night where we addressed this issue. But there is another issue there that the fire marshal and the building code enforcement officer investigated and found no problem. We have ponding on the west access road. It impacts the residents. It may not impact the fire department or anybody else, and I'm going to address the issue with them again tomorrow. Fran needs some support from the town to put a little pressure on her bosses to address this issue. And also, the road wasn't plowed during that recent snowstorm. That issue also needs to be addressed. Of course, the snow's gone now because it all melted, but
the ponding is back.
had a fire truck had to get in there, they would have had trouble.
So the
'cause
legacy property wasn't plowed, is what you're saying?
That's correct. The access road on the legacy property,
for
either
emergency
entrance.
access.
There was a snow pile in front of both entrances. Thank you.
Thanks, Ed. Is there anyone else who would like to address? Yes, ma'am. Please come forward. Welcome.
So a question about
Sure, if
having
you're-
chickens.
Your name?
Oh,
Your name,
Mackenzie.
please, for the record?
Yeah, my name's Mackenzie.
Mackenzie, can you give us your last name and address?
Zerniak, Zerniak, address 2170 Baird Road, very new resident, first meeting. And I was looking up the rules and regulations for having chickens. So I had seen that there was someone who had tried to get chickens on their property for health reasons. Probably 5 years ago was the most recent article I could find as far as Penfield goes. Now, what would I be able to do to get chickens at my house?
So currently, the only areas within the town for chickens is if you have a specific number of acres.
Yeah, 5+.
Right, 5+ is that, and then.
Can I ask the reason for that?
And that has been what this board has had on the books for a number of years. We have visited it from time to time. The last time we visited it was now probably about 2 or 2.5 years ago, round numbers. And at that time, the board did not have a large outcry for chickens, and the board at that time, essentially said that we were going to leave our ordinance as it was and as it was written. So again, today, it is 5+ acres for chickens.
Yeah, okay.
So your next question, or I think what I think I heard you say, that certainly if you would like to request that the board reconsider that or look into that and send us a letter, indicating, what your interest is and why you think it's going to be beneficial, if in fact the town were to make any modifications to the ordinance, why that might be more broadly beneficial to the town overall. We certainly will add it to our work session and review that and put it on the agenda. Certainly invite you in to listen to the dialogue.
Perfect.
Okay?
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Thanks for coming in, Mackenzie.
Yep.
Welcome to Penfield. Mel?
Mel Callan, 1410 Harris Road. I just want to add to my husband's comments about the membership on the committee that you're going to be appointing for Shadow Pines.
For Shadow Lake and Shadow Pines?
Shadow Lake and Shadow Pines, that committee. I know you met with the executive director of the Community Design Center, Mo Dugan, and I have had subsequent conversations with her, and she said she's more than willing to participate in that committee, and I think she'd be very good to bring that expertise and the experiences that they've had in helping many other communities just bring up some ideas and do some brainstorming about design possibilities. Even if we don't contract with them to do any further work, she's more than willing to serve on the committee, so.
And she and I have met,
Good.
and then she and I have spoken, and I think most recently, within the last week, sent me a follow-up email. So we have been having dialogue.
Very good. I think she'd be a great addition to that committee. Thanks.
Thank you. Kevin?
Back to the issue of some sort of representation for the 2002 easement contract. I don't know what type of time frame there is for a response to that, but the deadline is looming, and I would like to know if it's possible to get a response to that request in a short order.
We will, it's currently being reviewed by our town attorneys, plural, and we will certainly follow up back with you to close that loop based on your letter and the question that you asked.
Okay, is any idea time frame, close of week possibility, or?
What I'll say is they're currently reviewing. I get together on a weekly basis with our legal team, so I'm not going to commit to exact day or date, but I would say certainly within the next week we could at least have a follow-up back to yourself.
Okay, well, by Thursday, I have to prepare for contingency, a lack of representation. So
Okay. Yeah, got it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else that would like? Yeah, Joe. Gee, I don't see you for a few months, and I'm usually working with you, at Good Neighbor Day, right? Cleaning up and getting ready
So,
for another couple months.
I know this may be a thorn in your side, Tony, but what is going on with that gas station at 250 and Atlantic? I mean, they don't seem to be responsive. Aren't they supposed to be taking that place down?
That was the information that we had asked for, and then it became a little bit more complicated because ExxonMobil, the current owner, which I believe his last name is Gray, and then the new owner, who I don't have right off the top of my head, they were in some negotiations. They discovered some additional contamination. The contamination is actually under the building. I spoke with the attorney for Mr. Gray, and they are working out a plan with ExxonMobil, Mr. Gray, and the new owner, or the prospective new owner. And as you can imagine, you'll find this hard to believe, but there's an argument of who's going to pay for all of that, because apparently the building has to come down about the same time that they dig out and remove the contaminated soil. And so they're working with DEC and a number of other agencies. So the last conversation I had, which was in early January timeframe, they had hoped to have more information by the end of February, early March, as to what the next steps were. I think they ironed out most of the dollars and cents, and I think ExxonMobil finally stepped up to that. But that's the dynamics that's going on there. And when that comes down, I will get the coffee from Dunkin' Donut, and you and I will drink it at that location.
Put a little whiskey in there.
Yeah, we won't
okay,
give away
well,
all our
good.
secrets.
It's good to hear. So there's an end in sight to it then.
Yes, but we thought that a while back, and then, of course, it continues to get more muddy, no different than the one on Browncroft and Creek Street, or Blossom at that end. That one had some additional contamination. And then our ongoing Thorn that is right there, the old Leary Clean Town in front of the former Perkins Fit by 5 that is now, I should probably know what that, it's a daycare facility, and I can't recall right off the top of my head. Those are our three ongoing sites that give us a lot of gas.
Okay. Thanks.
Thanks, Joe. Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to address the board? Okay. Joe is done? It's okay. Joe is always welcome. Okay, seeing no further business to come before the board, the March 2nd, 2016 Town Board Legislative Session stands adjourned. Thank you for everyone that came and participated this evening. Safe travels home. Thank you.